Ulonka tabati yada to ye kuma daifa. Ino to ye ko je love bipa. Oba tala, oba takutakun. Zongo eshu, ogun oya osun. Kini sheshe, tan she nile yo. O jelo jara.
Alafia, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Orisha Bemi, and Tribe, we back. The Matrix tried to hold us down for a little bit, but they can't stop the ones because we got Morpheus with us in the building. So we're about to get this thing cracking for the metaphysical forecast and projections. And so, yeah, I definitely want to give a shout out to the Tribe. Appreciate y'all for joining us tonight, family. And let's just jump right into it. We got the world-renowned, internationally known scholar, master teacher, metaphysician, Dr. Phil Valentine. Welcome to the program, Doc.
Hey, you forgot, man. He said Baba Phil Valentine.
Baba, Dr. Phil.
He don't want to be no Dr. Phil.
Well, I could be Dr. Phil. I could be Dr. Philip Valentine, yeah, but not Dr. Phil. That's a brand. Hank, you gonna be my hype man tonight? Is that what that is?
I don't know, man. I'm trying to figure it out.
Yes, sir. Nah, we appreciate you for joining us, though, Dr. Valentine, for sure.
My pleasure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So without further ado, man, let's just jump right into it. For the Tribe, I'm pretty sure mostly, if not everybody on here knows you. They know your work, from whether it's from your work that you've done, within the community, within the culture, all the work that you've done for us as a people in regards to, tonight's topic, metaphysical forecasts and projections. Powerful topic, man. Powerful topic, powerful title, came directly, from you. And then also the forecasting of, what's to come from the years 2030 to 2050. So when we have a powerful title like that, Doc, what exactly does that mean for us?
Well, it could be a forewarning and a foreboding, or it's a foretelling. Either one of those begin to make us kind of perk our ears up and come out of our state of complacency and kind of shake ourselves up and not wait for somebody to shake us up. Mm-hmm. We have a crisis looming on the horizon. I mean, if you're standing someplace and you look at the horizon, you see things exploding all around you. You don't walk over there, with a dove of peace and a bouquet of flowers. You arm yourself and you get ready. You either bunker down or head into the fray, one or the other. And you have to be prepared for both. So I believe as far as what we are doing today is getting things together for ourselves, get our weaponry first, because we must have that for our family. It's come down to the point where people now are desperate.
Yes.
And we were teaching, brothers and sisters like yourselves, we were always teaching class, at least me in nearly 50 years, preparation and separation. And the thing about it is a lot of people weren't ready to listen. And it's like I get calls of desperation daily, my wife and I. And we feel so bad, because I have a rabid father instinct when it comes down to people who require things and see the error of their ways too late and are essentially hanging on to the side of the toilet bowl, so to speak, as it's flushing. And, you want to reach out and help them, but you have to think of your resources first. And, I love my people dearly. And a lot of times they don't like the kind of teachings I had when I was very young. I was boisterous, crazy. And I was more kind of aggressive with my knowledge and essentially was necessary at that time to cut through all the BS. But now, as you get into my age, I'm in my mid-70s, and you get to the point where, you get a kind of a grandfatherly kind of energy. You want to kind of embrace everybody and, tell them, I told you so, that type of thing. But I don't have that time anymore. If you're ready to actually change, then it has to be instantaneous. I'm not taking you hand by hand through this. I will, however, you can go through the crucible with me at my university. And my university, I have not changed my price in 35 years. My consultations have not changed in 50 years. Everything I've done to stay at the price marketable for me, to help my family, and to stay afloat. I don't get the same gratuities back. I have over 250 videos circling the planet today, and nobody says, hey, here's a couple of coins and stuff like that. And then I've made up my mind from the time I was in this, and my father told me, he said, you're a great artist, because I went to school had a scholarship to the Brooklyn Museum. Most people don't know I'm an artist. I'm also a musician. Went pursuing that. I've done so many things that I'm a jack of all trades. And when time came, I was forced into whatever it is that my contract was before I came into this avatar. And that is, I had to give up all of that, my artwork, my singing, coming right to the point where I was almost signed contracts, seeing big name artists stealing my music, stealing my ideas. I'm sorry?
I think it was feedback, Doc.
Okay. And so that became, an incentive for me. Homeless twice. Did not care about the fact that I was homeless. I knew I was not going to stay that way long. And you give up so many things, as you know, when you're in service. My father told me, if you're going to try to get Black folks to stop eating, you're going to go poor. That's when I was dealing with my naturopathic thing. I got my PhD in hygienic science. Did a whole lot of things. And until this time, right now, I found my peace with my beloved wife and my children. And that is, at this point right now, I'm here to serve, but not to be leeched, not to take my energy, but to enhance it. And hopefully those people who come into my orbit would help to feed me, as well as, expecting me to feed them. And so brothers like yourself out there on the front line, young, strong, I feel really good, as if I did make a little contribution here and there.
I sure. Now you made a major contribution, Doc. It's almost surreal to me personally, to be honest, because watching Hidden Colors, I think, was my first exposure to you. And I just, to this day, like, the very first one was amazing to me. All of them were dope, but the very first one, it was just something about that dichotomy, that dynamic of speakers who were on that particular documentary was powerful. And I give the utmost grace and gratitude, to the great God in heaven, because we've had almost everybody that was in that first one, come to the program, and it's been nothing short of phenomenal. So to have you, be another one to come, and do what you do, and for us to be able to be here, to be a part of this, it's magical. And so I give gratitude and thanks for that foremost. And I'm gonna but Brother Stone, Uncle Hake, y'all want to drop a question in before I get going? Because look, you know me, I ask all night, so I want to spread the rock around. Yeah. Okay. So
Do your thing, bro. Do your thing.
Okay. So when it comes to where we are right now, we're in a very, 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 very peculiar place in the time of humanity. I feel like the planet will never be the same, from ever in the next 10, 15, 20 years or more. So when you talk about 2030 to 2050, what do you foresee us and our strategy and what we need to do in regards to this current state right now? We're seeing people talking about putting chips in people's brains. We're seeing, the transhumanism. Like, we're seeing a lot of things going on right now, Doc. So where would you say we need to start collectively as a community and as a culture to be able to kind of put up some sort of defense mechanism to not be turned into androids?
That was a good one. That's a very good question. 3050, I might not even be here, but hopefully what I say today and we speak on today will help our young people coming in, the grands that are coming up. I am, what I do is to help people remove obstacles to achievement. And one thing we have not done is to remove the obstacle of separation amongst us. There is an obstacle that is at times incoherent, subtle, that keeps us in opposition because we've adopted so much of the pathologies of this European, this neo-Neanderthal, who has kind of infected us. This infection has us looking at our differences rather than what we do together to come together. He knows what happens when that power comes together because he's burned down over 200 or 300 of our cities and our places that we came together and created all that he has stolen. So
Yeah.
he knows exactly what we do together. And the first thing that we have to examine is what it is that we become infected by, so infected that we are lost our minds. We don't know collectivism, which was the foundation that made us and made us great.
Mm.
And so with this foundation gone, we're free-floating like dandelion seeds that have not yet found root. And so when the time comes for us to say, what do we do between now and 2030, and then from 2030 to 2050, remove the separations, remove whatever that one another. We know our brothers have lost faith in the system of marriage.
Mm.
We know that a lot of our brothers are now taking advantage of the fact that our sisters became infected with feminism. And they became infected with the individualistic virus, which essentially is them taking our nature and putting it into them and taking their nature and putting it into us.
Mm.
Young brothers raised by single mothers are more emotional rather than critical in their thinking. And therefore, as such, there is this, it's very difficult to teach young brothers today because they do not look to the male with respect. The so-called black man, the indigenous, the autochthonous man of this world right now is looked down upon. He has been made to be vilified. He can be easily vilified with no consequences. So these little separations that we have between one another, we don't have that. They cannot do that. And we cannot wait until disaster hits before we start saying, oh, you know what, we better get it together. No. They have already planned our future 75 years ago. You have to remember that this man deals every 75 years, he changes his lockdown sequences. How you have a particular kind of what's the code? Well, the code now is blockchain. He has taken away your individuality and he put you up on a computer. He's calling it AI. AI is actually outdated. AI is obsolete. He's giving you obsolete technology and you're all getting all screaming about it. There's no such thing as AI taking over tomorrow. What's going to take over tomorrow is synthetic intelligence. Look to synthetic intelligence. Synthetic intelligence is the new AI that they're not telling you about. The elite use synthetic intelligence. They got you using AI. So synthetic intelligence is way ahead because they're using melanin engrams to run their machines. They're using the thing that you have as your code of intelligence. See, melanin is not a pigment. People made the mistake because they're not thinking metaphysically. Melanin is an intelligence. And because it's an intelligence, it is directly related to the hydrogen atom. In fact, The hydrogen atom folded over onto itself is melanin. So everything in your being, once you tap in, why do you think they like to poison us?
Yeah.
Why do you think they feed you in your community a certain kind of food they never feed to a dog?
Yeah.
It's because they know they have to disrupt your melanin.
Yeah.
And so in doing so, we adapt around the poisons, but we have a delay in the signal carrier. Melanin is also a signal carrier. It's a signal carrier, and also it is a capacitor.
Mm.
And as a capacitor, it stores energy and carries signals, stores energy as information. And as storing information, what melanin does is it takes the solaric force and it stores it within the micro mesh that you see that is melanin, because melanin is far more complex than the little thing that they show you what looks melanin. That's not melanin. Melanin is vibrating way farther than that. It's like looking at water and not seeing what it is before it becomes liquid or before it becomes solid. So melanin is etheric in its nature and has a capacitor capability to store solaric force energy. And in solar, if you're looking at solar, the sun is an information giver. It lets you know what you are to do. It keeps us in the contract mode that we chose to come into the body to accomplish. And as the sun is giving us that information, it is translating it into our cellular network. The thing about it is that the feminine principle needs to be feminine in order to truly, how do I say it, translate what that is into the feminine nature that is necessary in our world. We have two male type energies, with the females being forced to act like us, and we having to step back because we believe that she now feels that masculine power, and it's addictive. It's addictive. Not accent on the dick either, because a lot of people say that. But it is addictive. And my students don't like me to say that because but testosterone is addictive. It is addictive, and it is necessary to be expressed. It has to be expressed. This is why we had to take our men from the women when they were 7 years of age, because that testosterone flows through young people, young boys. It flows through them at the same level and at the same dosage as a grown man. Even a child of 2 years of age, a boy, has melanin surges. Melanin, yes, as testosterone surges, even at the age of 2 years of age. But that is beat down, killed, and not allowed to be forged. Young men have to be forged into manhood. Women don't have to be that. Women are born with their value very, very early. Their value is between the ages of 16 and 25. But that's when they know they trap them into this pursuit of a career. Most people don't know that the etymology and the epistemology of the word career is combat.
Wow.
So they're teaching our women to go into combat with an innocuous enemy, which you see he will abandon when he feels that he does not need their services anymore, to the tune of 250,000 of our sisters being kicked to the curb by this white government, convinced that they could be independent, convinced that they do not need the masculine principle because Oprah told them they did not need to have the man around. Men were toxic. Masculinity is toxic. but not when they are being masculine.
Mm.
So we have to get rid of this schism that has grown between the man and the woman in our society. We have to get them away from the teaching mechanism and keep them away from this devil. We have to do what Malcolm said. You cannot send your children to this devil and hope that they come back your children.
Yep.
So what I say is, 2050, they will already have, it's going to be a short-lived. Because they're already feeding us. They're killing hundreds of thousands of babies. They're feeding us in our hamburgers. I told people that 30 years ago, and they thought it was, I was anti-Semitic and blah, blah, blah. But do you know that they're shipping adrenochrome by the barrels? How do you think they get it?
Yeah.
Around the world, that is the number one commodity. The second commodity is drugs.
Right.
Number one is adrenochrome.
And that would,
yes, go ahead, brother.
I apologize. I was gonna say, and that would explain all of the missing women and children, and the black bodies that go missing every single year.
Yes, to the tune of tens of thousands. But you're too busy looking at, Captain America and wondering when Black Panther will have a new face. This devil, and I'm talking about, and I know it may be a little bit difficult, and there's certain things I may not be able to speak upon here, but we know who the enemy is. He's slowly being shown. I've tried to tell people about the enemy for the last nearly 50 years. I pray that people begin to understand that they're in the government. They've already polluted the government. We don't have a government. We have rulers. We have scum. We have a cesspool sitting in Washington. And the filth and the stench can only be smelled by those who understand where we are today as a nation and as a people. If you can't smell the stench, it's because you are the stench.
That part.
And so I say to you, be prepared. If you want to really know how to enhance what to look for in your thought process when you're going through certain things that you feel, I get people now that are just at their wits' end. Now that they're pulling all the services that they got us, like the pusher gives you a little piece, a taste, and then you want coming back for more and more. We have to get away from the pusher. We have to kick cold turkey. We have to definitely understand and understand survival at this point. There's a lot of people thriving now online. There's a lot of people who understand XRP, because I told them about XRP when it first came out. Told them about XLM, XTC, told them about HBAR, told them about everything that they were getting ready to do, but they already got that. BlackRock is the one that's pulling our short hairs. And you know why they took that name, BlackRock. Most people don't know why. BlackRock is actually after the gigantic magnetic stone that's sitting in the middle of the Arctic Circle. And it is there on the old maps. It's the Niagara I forgot the name for stone, but it's on the oldest of maps. You go up there and you look and where they saw it. And from that particular center of the earth, because the earth is a flatted plane, it ain't a ball, it ain't a spinning water ball. Okay? Understand that the so-called four rivers, the Euphrates, the Tigris, and all the rest of that, what they spoke about in the so-called Holy Bible, in the Holy Bible, they are dealing with the four outlets of the oceans, and it comes where there is a maelstrom. Now, anybody ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean? Have you seen it when they're at World's End? Remember when they were in this gigantic whirlpool? Well, what the Vatican and the rest of the archive thieves have kept from us is that Hundreds of sailors have gone into that area and get sucked into that maelstrom. And that's the maelstrom. That's the magnetic part that maintains the gigantic cyclotron that we are under this dome that is maintained by the rotation of the sun and the moon above us.
Mm.
The dome is made of compressed hydrogen that they tried to blow open when they tried to destroy the dome with atomic weapons.
Mm.
And they didn't. They couldn't. They cannot go into outer space because there's no space outside of the dome.
Mm.
I'll prove that to you. What do they say space is?
They say it's a vacuum, right?
Right. If space is a vacuum, how is space, and I'm talking about endless space that they talk about, how is this endless space not yanking and sucking our atmosphere off of this globe? How is it that our atmosphere stays attached and there's no such thing as gravity either?
Mm.
Another garbage that they push. Even Tesla said that Einstein was a clown for even thinking about it. We are living in an illusion.
Mm.
We are living in a synthetic synchronicity. In my school, I teach about preemptive consent. I teach about synthetic synchronicity. I teach about phylogenetic. What we are is in a gigantic story that someone else has written. And they are synchronizing our thoughts in accordance with how they play with the forces of nature. Right now, everybody is waking up and waking up too fast, thanks to brothers like you and sisters. And because of that, they have to become more and more repressive. Their desperation has to come out now. It's showing.
Oh, yeah.
They have to now kick it into high gear. They have to now pull out the military to protect themselves. Too much is happening. Now you want to know why it is that they don't want to release the Epstein files? We know what's going on in the Epstein files. 3/4 of the entire United States Congress is on that file. Past, present, and the ones that even think that they want to be on there in rulership. We are ruled by a Khazarian cabal. We are ruled by the Khazarian cabal who deal with the Talmud as their law. They have ripped off your astrotheological sciences. They don't even speak the right Hebrew. They speak a Yiddish polluted form of Hebrew. So most people are right now preparing to adapt the new paradigm that they are now structuring for us. It's a whole new prison. You're not invited. They have to kill off at least 3 more billion people. That COVID, they called it, that's not the disease. The COVID was actually an acronym. It meant Certificate of Vaccination Identification. 19 was AI. 1 is A, 9 is I. So what they wanted to do essentially was to start with vaccine passports. So COVID was actually created to introduce your papers, please. So certificate of vaccination identification was built up. We now know, because I had a run-in with Fauci back in 1984 and 85, when I was almost tarred and feathered by my own community for saying that AIDS was a hoax. Because too many of our doctors, black doctors, were bought off. I knew it was coming because a good brother back in the day named Kanya Kakumba, who had the Tree of Life up in Manhattan, he invited me up to his apartment on Central Park West, and he showed me some Wall Street projections on a new set of drugs based on interferon. And if we wanted to get in, we just had to have $1,500, and we could have stock in the new drugs that they were coming out with for some new disease that was galloping they tell you a disease is coming, and then they tell you what we're going to have to do to deal with it. Well, we had Robaron, Inferon, and all these different types of drugs, and we didn't know what the disease was going to be. And then lo and behold, this happened around 1979, 1980. Then all of a sudden, 1984, we find out, whoa, what's this new disease killing people? It's killing the homosexual community first. Really? Well, why is that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the homosexual community had begun indulging in a toxic material, and it was a popper. And this popper was used for people who had a heart condition called angina. And what they used to do, let me just say, get backtrack. Amyl nitrate had a sister called butyl nitrate. Amyl nitrate was what they used in the popper for people with angina pectoris. Butyl nitrate was never brought under regulation by the FDA. So there was this homosexual gentleman who was a lab technician. He took the butyl nitrate, put them into little ampules, and used to sell them to the homosexual community in the form of different names like Locker Room, Stud, and all the rest of these. And the homosexual community he sold to were in New York, Los Angeles, California, and over in Africa, Kenya, and South Africa. This popper, once you inhaled it, boom, it was a super rush. It didn't creep up on you, it hit you. And the homosexual community in both of these regions loved it. But what did it do? Why did they love it so much? Well, they loved it because not only did they get a high, but what it did was it loosened up the anus. And so they were just taking it and popping it and banging everybody that was there in the club and every place else they could. And then after that, say around the 1970s, going into 74, 75, 76, these same individual men began showing up in these clinics, and they had it fish. They were deficient. Their bodies had been bereft or robbed of all defenses, no white blood cells, nothing, and they were getting these opportunistic diseases because of this. It was called GRID, gay-related immunodeficiency. So now, when that happened, they said, well, what? Oh, we got something here. This was like synchronicity. Why? Why was it synchronicity? Because at that time, your boy Reagan had defunded the medical community because his wife had cancer and ain't nobody gave him any answers. And so he said, come one, come all. If you got an answer for cancer, we're going to fund it. FDA, AMA said, whoa, we got to do something quick. So what they did, they took the AIDS industry and took everything, the protocols, everything, the science, and moved it lock, stock, and barrel over into the AIDS industry. Then they began to iatrogenically kill people on screen to make sure that you knew that this new disease, this benign disease called HIV, would cause AIDS if they tested you. And then they tricked you by messing with the test. If you did not dilute your blood after they took the blood 800 times, everybody had HIV. So now, Black people started coming in because we started talking about the down low. They kept pushing about the down low brothers, the down low brothers. That started the separation. All of a sudden now, everybody in the white gay community, you couldn't hear nothing about them on the news. Everybody who had anything to do with AIDS was all Black now.
Doc, it sounds like the cocaine versus crack separation.
There you go. They always are one step ahead in their satanic wickedness.
Yeah.
So when I say to you these little reason why I went back that far, because you have to understand that what we are facing is not something that's just popping up. These chess moves that they're making against us is not because they're smarter than us. It's because they study us. They have the archives of your people, not only in Africa, but here. Why do you think they don't want you to study this history here in this part of the world?
Yeah.
Because you are the autochthonous people of this world, not that Mongolian who came over the Bering Straits down through Canaan and into what we call a maximum America or Amerique. He's not the one. He cut the deal with the white man to become the indigenous people. But the true indigenous people were robbed and not brought from Africa. This Khazar was the one who understood what was happening. Why do you think they were burning all of our new places after so-called slavery went to the Emancipation Proclamation? Why do you think that they hired Martin Luther King? Why do you think that they let him talk what he did and got all in the news? Because we were competition. We were kicking the Yanks' ass in preseason every time baseball season came out. We had our own car dealerships, bus lines, banks, shipping lines. That Khazar knew that we were the intelligence of the planet. He is a pimp. He is a parasite. Did you ever see that movie, Wall Street? Look at what Michael, what's his name? Douglas. When Michael Douglas got busted by your boy in the park, he said, "I don't create a damn thing, and I'm going to just kind of cut a phrase on him." He says, "I don't create anything; I just own it." They're not the creators. They were from a tribe of people, the Khazars, who used to rob the people on the Silk Road. And their main thing was assuming the identity of the people they killed. Until the Russian Confederation put a stop to it and got all of them to drive them out. Why do you think they're in Ukraine right now? Do you know that tens of thousands of Khazars are in Ukraine now? They're leaving Israel and they're going into Ukraine now. You can't get into certain parts of Ukraine unless you are one of them. Why do you think that? They're the ones started all the wars. The Titanic supposedly sank. It wasn't the Titanic. They glorified that in the movies because that they run the movies. What was actually sunk was the Olympic. They couldn't get any kind of insurance for the Olympic, so they just put the word Titanic on the side. And then your boy J.P. Morgan got all of his boys Tabet and all the rest of the men who were the multimillionaires who said, no, we don't want no central goddamn bank. Loaded them all up on the ship and sank it. Sank the Olympic as the so-called Titanic. And everybody will say, nah, that's not what happened. That's just a myth. No, it is bullshit. And then after that, what happened? What was it? I think it was Titanic or the Olympic went down in 2012, 2013. What happened? Federal Reserve. And after that, what happened? 2014, World War I. You getting the pattern here? This is who we're dealing with. We don't know the enemy like Sun Tzu.
Yeah.
And we have to not only look at him, we have to look at the person who actually empowered him, and that is the Vatican. Remember, the Vatican don't like Eastern Orthodox Christianity. That's their enemy. And that's who Putin is. Not unless he's a mole as well. But you got to understand this, the Jesuits with the black ships, it was the Jesuits who created the Illuminati using Adam Weishaupt, who was a converted Christian from a Jew. And so now we have the Illuminati, which they stole that name from us because the Illuminati were the high priests out of Luxor and Timbuktu and Ethiopia, Kush. So now we have to learn who the enemy is. We don't know who the enemy is. We keep fighting each other. They want us to fight each other because as soon as we know who they are, and that goes for Irish, because the Irish are the Negroes or the blacks of Europe. As soon as we know who the enemy is, and we can mount a collective counteroffensive to everything he has planned, which is genocide. You think what's happening in Gaza is just going to happen in Gaza?
That part.
Yeah. We're just getting a preview. We're just getting the trailer for what's to come.
That's deep.
So I mean, I didn't mean to drift.
No, keep going. Keep going, Doc. Look, that's what we're here for.
I just wanted to let you know that to prepare for what's getting ready to happen, we need our health, number one. We need to be dealing with some Juice Plus. Like I was telling people, we need to get on the unicity. We had to get on purging. The foods that we're eating now are laced, purposefully laced with parasites. Parasites are not only in the food, they're dropping in the air.
Yep.
They are in the air, and watch out for the street sweepers, because the steam in the street sweepers are actually putting out micro materials that once you breathe them in, they affect your lungs. You create mucus to protect the lungs, cough up the mucus, spit some out, but swallow some. And when you swallow them, they get into the stomach acid, and it's the stomach acid that activates them. I know I sound like doom and gloom.
No, listen, that's what we're here for, Doc. We need it.
I might be carrying my sickle in my hood. But I do tell you that there are positive things that look like they're shaping up, because we have good brothers out there like yourself. We got brother Dane Calloway, who's trying to wake people up. There are other brothers who are out there that's actually working to wake up the sleeping masses in such a way that they begin to take responsibility instead of getting into that, how do I say it, welfare mode, looking for somebody to come along and give them answers instead of studying what's going on and finding those answers.
I see.
You see, I don't mind speaking to people and let everybody know Egypt, there's no such a name as Egypt. Egypt is Greek. Egypt is, yeah, they call it Egypt. That's the
Kemet.
Greek. It's
Mm.
it's it's Tameri or Tanahisi
Mm.
or Kemet. Yeah, Amerikua. If you look at Meri is a Kemetic word. It means the beautiful. Amen. You look at IME is right there. At the end of every one of the Christian prayers, at the end of every one of the Islamic prayers, at the end of every Hebrew prayers is what word?
Amen.
Yeah. Amen. Doc, let me ask you a quick question. Is there any correlation or connection between Tameri and Taseti?
Taseti essentially came later. Tameri and Tanahisi were the upper and lower, they called it.
Gotcha.
North was south, south was north.
Okay.
And when you're dealing with Taseti, you're dealing with essentially like a capital.
Right.
The landmass, Tameri, Tanahisi, these specific land masses were essentially governmental in nature.
Mm.
Who best served the collective? It wasn't until Nama and other so-called Nasut actually united Upper and Lower Kemet in order for them to be the powerhouses they were. They became just as despotic as any, and that's the thing we don't talk about. We must talk about the good things in order for us to rise as a people, but we got to remember what it is that made them fall in the first place.
Mm.
We have to understand that Akhenaten isn't everybody that everything that we build him up to be.
Mm.
Akhenaten almost destroyed Kemet.
Mm.
And if it wasn't for Horemheb and Ramasu, who you call Ramesses, he would have allowed Kemet to fall.
Mm.
Yeah, he was infected with. Why do you think that they love him so much in the Rosicrucian order?
Mm.
Because he destroyed all of the temples, and Kemet was a theocracy.
Mm.
And as a theocracy, these different temples were like a House of Representatives. And they checked the power of the Nasut. He came in and said, screw all that. I'm the Holy Family from now on. And we're going to be worshiping Aten. Get rid of Amen, get rid of Jehudi, get rid of the Assad, get rid of all of that. Y'all come to me. Well, the people didn't like that because the people began starving. Why? Because he said that all there is to love Aten. And everything you do is to work Aten. He was trying to create one of the biggest cults out of Kemet.
Mm.
Now, at that time, because he was ruling Mempatah, which we call Memphis today, was going to hell. That was the capital at the time. It was going to hell on a hamstick and a broomstick. And he was into the kumbaya. But he was also suffering not only because he had acromegaly, but he also had leprosy.
Mm.
And he used to use blood, drink blood of who? Well, you see it being done by his acolytes today. Why you think they love him so much? Yeah, I know. It's like, oh my God, how we can't know all about this. These are the people we hold up. We built statues to them. Well,
Listen.
here's what happened. Here's what happened.
Nah.
Let me tell you what happened. He let Kemet go to hell. And because the people were angry with him, he moved further, either north or south, if you want to look at it. And he built a city called Armana in order for him to be able to practice Aten. He took his priests, and across the Nile at Malawi, he had his acolyte priests over there, and they go on with all their rituals. He would bathe in blood. hoping to get rid of whatever it was that he was sick by. So Kemet was going to hell. Syria and all of the places that they had jurisdiction over, like you see the United States today with Venezuela and all of them, they started acting up. And so Syria and all of the different places and the holdings of Kemet began attacking Kemet and the people who were there stationed to run Kemet's business in those lands. And what happened? Hordenheb, who was the head, the top general at that time, like your boy, Colonic Bowell, what was his name? Colin Powell. He, in himself, was the head of the armies at that time. And he said, you know what, this is where they got the Caesar. This is where Rome took the Caesar thing from. Because Hordenheb took over the running of Kemet. And his main general, Ramassu, he sent to get rid of Akhenaten. Akhenaten's father, you got to remember, was Amose. Look at that name, Mose. Where do you think they got the word Moses from? They took it from Amose, which meant father of his people in ancient Kemet. That's where they stole that. But he sent Ramassu and said, wipe that place out. That's a den of iniquity. They're killing people. They're doing all kinds of weird stuff. So Ramassu took part of the army, and Hordenheb went over there to pacify parts of the north and other parts where Kemet was being attacked. Now, at the time when Hordenheb got down there, he was wiping out everything, burning, destroying, where you saw that whole gallery where all those lions were and everything. They destroyed Amarna, and your boy Akhenaten went fleeing into the marshes over there in where is that? Is that the place where they talk about baptizing Jesus and the rest of it? In the Sinai. See, the area of the Sinai was actually a marsh that got flooded. It was flooding at that time when Hordenheb sent Ramassu down to wipe out that den of iniquity that Akhenaten had started. Akhenaten took his people and ran into the Sinai. And that's when Hordenheb tried to get after him, he got bogged down into the mud. But they built that up as Moses parted the waters, let my people go, and all this bullshit. Hordenheb did not want to. He was a soldier. He did not want to rule. So he cut a deal with Akhenaten and said to Akhenaten, I'll let one of your people rule. And that's where you see Amen Tut Ankh. Not Tut Ankh Amen, because you never took the name of God last. His name was Amen Tut Ankh. Wow. And he ruled for a while, but the priests who Akhenaten had killed, had thrown out, had kicked him out of Kemet. They did not want anybody related to him ruling. And so they ended up killing him too. That's the story that they don't tell you. And that's the reason why you see this Khazar, because the priests of Malawi became the Levites. And the Levites were actually the priests that served Akhenaten. So when you go in and you check the back rooms of these Talmudic Khazarian Lubavitch Shabbat, they praise Akhenaten because of what he represented. And they took the priests of Levi. Remember, the Levites were the ones who ruled over the 12 tribes. They were the ones who told the tribes what to do. But again, people are going to say that I'm crazy. People are going to say that this sounds nuts and so forth. But I've done enough reading and enough researching to go behind the scenes. I don't like people polishing stuff for me, polishing turds and giving it to me in the form of, golden turd that I found. You know, here, take this, worship, bend the knee, genuflect.
Right.
I don't care.
Trying to give it to you like it's a burnt sausage.
There you go.
Doc, let me ask you. You going in tonight? I don't even want to ask no questions. I want to let you just keep going. But okay, I got two quick questions, and I don't want to get in your way. But what are your thoughts on extraterrestrials? Because I recall back in the day hearing Dr. Blair. You about to go to the great Dr. Blair, but I remember seeing a presentation that he had, and it spoke about the 18th dynasty of Kemet and Akhenaten being tied to extraterrestrials. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if he did, and he was tied to them, then we understand why he did what he did then.
That part.
First of all, extraterrestrial just means somebody that's outside of the territorial boundaries we call Earth.
Yeah.
And that could mean through another dome, because there are a series of different islands outside of Antarctica. And most people didn't know that the Germans found it.
Yeah, Hitler and his folks.
Yep. They found it. And they even have what is known as the Gate of Osiris. And they found the Gate of Osiris that leads them into places where they built up whole civilizations for Hitler himself. And a lot of times when we say extraterrestrial, we don't understand that there are technologies 1,000 years ahead where we can use stargates. And do you know where the Stargate located is here?
Was it Iraq?
No, that's a place that trains you to, it's like a telephone. It don't take you anywhere.
Arizona?
No.
What about the St. Louis Arch? I've heard that was a Stargate too.
No, the Stargate is above you. What do they call the star that's above us?
The sun?
There you go. What do you think? What do you think when they talk about sun dogs, or when they speak about every time the sun tends to seem to give off a certain burst?
Solar flares?
Flares. That's them. That's them using the gate. Every 29 and a half days, when you get to the 29th of June, the 26th or the 21st, between the 21st and the 29th of June, take a look at the sun. They never tell you anything about the sun except it's hot. But that's when that's when a gate opens. And you can see things right around the sun. You can see what looks like ships around the sun.
Yeah.
That's the Stargate. You have to understand not only how to bend time, but you have to understand that the sun is nothing but plasma. And so is the moon. So nobody stepped on the goddamn moon. The moon is plasma. You can see the reflections of the Earth's outside of the dome on the moon. I did this in one of my webinars. All the different convolutions you could see on the moon at times. That's it reflecting the land masses that we cannot see beyond the Antarctic. So, because the sun is a plasma orb, when you understand how to vibrate at the same pitch as plasma with your ship, and you can actually use it to go from one sun to the next sun.
That's deep.
Okay. And so we don't know our world. We are too busy looking at the illusion and the fantasy that they created of our world, and they're playing that game with us. So we are on a flattened plane not flat Earth. And people are saying, well, no, how are you going to say we're on a flat Earth? Yeah, well, Copernicus was murdered because he didn't want his so-called globe Earth that he was forced to put together because he was a priest of the Vatican. So when he told the priests he did not want to have them publish his work until after he died, so they killed him and buried him in an unmarked grave outside of a church in Poland.
Whew. Yeah, we're going in tonight.
No, I mean, you got to shake up academia because that's the place where the lies are being promoted as reality. Just like the Bible is nothing more than a good book telling you how to behave your damn self using, Keanu Reeves and Jack Nicholson and what's his name, Denzel Washington as characters.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody's waiting for the reckoning. Well, when you find out that Jesus and Lucifer are the same, maybe we'll come to some kind of senses. It scares the hell out of them. Even when Jesus told you he was Lucifer in Revelations 22 and 16. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Listen, Doc, so the tribe going in, I can't even keep up with the comments. I'm not going to try to because I want to stay focused. Normally I share them, but I want to stay locked in because you're dropping it's a legendary performance right here. So what are your thoughts on this Atlas 31 thing, Doc?
I don't have any thoughts on those because that's another distraction, beloved brother. Don't get caught up in that. Please.
I got you. Yeah, it's funny because me and Stone was just talking about this earlier. I was like, man, so let me ask you this then.
No. Let me just stop you for a minute because I love you, brothers, so much. Everything that they want to show you out there is the lie. They will never reveal the truth to you. That's why you will never get the Epstein files with, in other words, straight no chaser. They're going to throw you the little people, the little fish.
Yeah.
You're not going to know what's going on because everybody in that government has pictures of them doing what they were doing to children. And Hillary herself, she is the devil herself and the things she did to children. Okay? You'll never get that code because they say, well, the people will not be able to take this and oh my goodness, and so horrific. They're feeding us horror so we can become numb to horror. Okay. So
what do you feel about
Yeah.
Inner Earth, Doc? Does the Inner Earth have anything to do with?
Yeah, they're gonna kick out these people who are trespassing. The white man has been trespassing everywhere he goes as he came up 6,000 years ago, which is why he wants to tell you that everything began 6,000 years ago.
Right.
The Stone Age, I keep telling people the Stone Age was not him running around with a club and living in a cave. That's not the Stone Age. The Stone Age is our age. That's when we built pyramids. That's the Stone Age, the real Stone Age. This nonsense what they're showing you with this, this gorilla going around and and that was man. That's the white man talking that bullshit. Let me say to you, your boy Darwin and all of the rest of them, his father was a chematologist, an Egyptologist, and he had all those statues with the head of the hippo, the head of the heru, the hawk, the head of the vulture on human bodies, and that's where he started out, thinking that we came from animals. This man is a fool. He knows he is, but he studies well, and he is so violent that we don't think about violence in that way. Remember, he was a Neanderthal, and as Neanderthal, the real Neanderthal were savages. They were the ones. They were cannibals, which is what he is now. And your boy Genghis Khan was a mix. He was Neanderthal. And it's funny because Dr. John Henry Clark wrote a book. Well, he wrote the book. Well, he wrote the foreword for
Yep.
what's
I got that book. It's got a gray cover. I can't think of the name of it. White Man's Inheritance.
Inheritance.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And he, the author, Michael Bradley.
White dude.
Yep. He wrote that white people were the ones that were the problem of the planet. They were like cancer is white, so is they. And that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
And so what he said was, as soon as he said that the white man was the problem, every one of the so-called Khazars, I don't call them Jews because the J was never actually introduced into the lexicon of English until the 17th century. So who the hell is Jesus? Well, we'll say he's Yehuda. Well, he is Yehudi. No, well, the EU, E-W-I-W, was who the God was of the so-called Jew at the time. And the Yehuda is where you're dealing with. There was no Judah, it was Yehuda. And a lot of people are twisting it. And because we are taking on his derivatives, our consciousness is being blended to his. And he can now just filter that back, the lies right through that consciousness, and we can adopt it as real. It's not. Okay, he steals everything he finds. Okay, and so I forgot my train of thought because I got so many things going in my head. My wife tells me about stay on point.
It's all good. Now, so let me ask you this, because what it sounds like, what I'm hearing is you're breaking down. It sounds like the difference between human and mankind.
Yeah, the human, H-U-E. We should spell it correctly, H-U-E-M-A-N. But again, the topic that we're speaking about is to be able to justify our existence for our children, because they're going to come along and say, well, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you do that? Well, it's so simple at this point. Well, they don't understand that, what it took to get this information. Our young people today are cut and paste. They're actually cut and paste scholars. They didn't get out of the libraries because we didn't have any kind of internet, any kind of computer. I had to travel. I had to join these organizations to find out what they had encrypted and down in their basements. When I joined the Theosophy Lodge, I had to go down into a dusty place and there was books, old books that you could hardly open up. And you could tell that that was all our information that they had stolen. And so what I'm saying here in forums like this, I may drift off because there's so much peripheral information around the subject matter that you wish me to focus on. The periphery is what explains why. You see, not just what. And we are stuck on what. We're stuck on who as well, but not why. And why is it that we are here like this and people, can talk about how we are based upon our symptoms from global white supremacy. The symptoms of global white supremacy are what they study. They don't study the disease because they are the disease. You think cancer studies itself as it's killing you? No. If there are any questions that you feel that you want to ask or they want to ask, I'd be happy to talk to them now.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, let me just say, my wife is going to tell me, if you want to learn, if you please let them know that, first of all, my university is beginning this next semester. The winter semester begins on January the 17th. That's the 2025 winter semester for metaphysical psychology. You go up to my website at uksnow.org, uksnow.org, and click where it says registration, and we will then begin. You'll be contacted by our admin, The other thing is when you want to deal with the Juice Plus, which I definitely wholeheartedly please get it, because that's what's allowed me to speak for 14 and 15 hours straight. I have the record for that, I'm the I guess the metaphysical blowhard. And so from that point forward, we want people to first of all think of their health, think of their children, and to make sure that they are girded against everything that they're getting ready to send at you. Um, I'm trying to think of other things that you want to deal with. I do consultations, and my wife, if you're interested, she holds a fantastic 8 o'clock every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. She holds a, excuse me? Oh, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, she holds a
I
half
think it's just
hour.
feedback.
I'm sorry.
No, it sounds like we got feedback coming from somewhere, Doc. Let me see something.
Okay.
I don't know where that's coming from.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
just Wednesday and Friday now, Mama says. So just Wednesday and Friday, she holds a fantastic meeting at 8 o'clock. And you all want to hear what's going on in your health, about your health. My wife died and came back, if you want to call it that. She transitioned and came back from what she had to deal with, and she'll tell you her story. I was there, and I saw the courage. I saw the type of what the Jews call chutzpah that she fought off because they said that her age she should have been gone. But when they took her blood at her age in our 70s, they said her blood and her makeup, her internal makeup, was that of a 20-year-old. And that's why she survived it because of her lifestyle.
Mm.
And so you want to talk to her because she knows what it is to go through the crucible. Talk about Ashaka through the fire. And by the way, she wrote a book about her lifestyle and what she went through. And Shaka Khan, actually, with her sister, wrote the foreword to it. So we'll tell you about that if you're interested. So I say to everybody, Wednesday and Friday, you all call her at her number. Not call her, I'm sorry, text her to find more information because calling you all might be disturbing me and waking me up. I don't want none of that. So anyway, the main thing is that, and we do consultations. Health products, there's her number. Or you can go to her daughter, Sister Nanette Swift. She too also can be texted to find out what to do. We also have a school for children, an online school for children called the Institute for Self-Mastery. The Institute for Self-Mastery was started some 10, 12 years ago, and it is an online homeschooling course with some of the top teachers in the country. And if you're interested in that, please call the 800 number, 800-847-1291. That is our chief number for all of our services, 800-847-1291. You could also text Brittany. She's one of the members of that feedback. Hoping this doesn't mess with your recording.
No, we're gonna push through it, Doc. It seems like this happens all the time. Like, look,
Okay.
I'm used to it.
All right. Well, as long as the information is posted for the people, then they can get in contact with us. And I thank you, brothers, immensely for helping us to reach out to our family.
I say no, it's a pleasure, man, and look, we thank you. And shout out to the tribe. Listen, tribe. Dr. Phil don't have Cash App. He uses PayPal, so I've shared his PayPal multiple times. Please hit that PayPal up, man, because the time that he's taking tonight and the jewels he's dropping, man, we should be dropping bands on that PayPal for real, because you can't find this kind of information anywhere. Like that just ain't happening. So the fact that he took the time out to schedule to come out tonight and drop this kind of powerful information, man. Hit that PayPal, please, and shout out to everybody who's doing the work with you, Doc. Again,
Thanks.
for sure. And I definitely got questions too. So if you got time for a few, let me pull a few up. Matter of fact, first and foremost, Stone, you got any questions before I go to the tribe?
Man, first off, Baba Phil, About Valentine, thank you for all the information you just gave us tonight. You gave me so much. We let you go, but I took so many notes that I'm gonna be building going for a while after this. I do have a couple questions. One quick one.
Yes.
Where do the Khazarian, you call it? Where do the Khazarians come from? And is that the representation of the Borg?
Yo, nice one, nice one. Yeah, and you could say that they are part of the, because Khazar was the nation, or the nation of Khazar was in southwest Russia. It extended into the Ukraine. All of that was Khazaria, and they came from there. And it was from there that they went through all of the ripping off of. I mean, they were really brutal. Now, what happened was, and this is the interesting part, the Christians and Islam were at war with one another. And what happened was they came upon the nation, or the country of Khazaria. And at that time, in 740, I believe it was, they tried to encourage the Khazars to either convert to Islam or to convert to Christianity. Well, the king at that time was Bulan, Bulan. And he said, nah, I ain't going to do that. We're not going to convert to either one of those. We're going to convert to Iudaism. And so they adapted to the Iudaism. And from that point forward, after they were destroyed, all of the gold and the silver and all of what they stole, they, after being destroyed by the Russian Confederation that drove them out, they scattered throughout the Europe and the East, going down south and around, and taking boats to go across to the Americas, where they helped with the so-called slave trade. And again, they did not reach the Americas with the slaves. Most of them ended up in South America or in the islands, in the Caribbean islands. They call the Caribbean islands because the Carib, of whom I'm part of as well, they were the ones that they destroyed in order in mixing up together. And of course, the so-called Jamaicans were definitely powerful warriors at that time, who they would mess with, especially the Maroons.
I see. Well, that also goes into, in the beginning, you were saying, you said something, I might be mistranslating it, but you said something about separation, and I took that as sovereignty. And you said a lot, and I want to like make it all hit home. But when you said about the government, if you said what you said about the government, we know that this government has been overtaken by body snatchers. Literally, these are body snatchers. They're doing all sorts of weird stuff. That's not our government. We have a right to go against that government by cosmic law and by whatever other laws they got down here, little minute laws. Now I say that to say that goes into sovereignty and buying our own land and ducking off. There's a lot of properties we talk about a lot of times. Also, how do you feel about gold and silver right now?
I go for
I just gotta throw that out there in the economy because you said the forecast, and I want to get people an understanding what the forecast is with the new, or not the new, but going back to the old ways of God's money. What does gold and silver represent to you right now?
God's money, as you're saying it. God's money. You want to deal with gold, silver, platinum, and copper. You want to get into copper because that's the foundation of all the machinery that you will be seeing from now on. All of the so-called AI and all of a sudden, all of the so-called superconductive materials are going to be from these materials. But that's you said something that's very important at this point, and it's worth going into. The first so-called 13 colonies were not these whites. They weren't there. We were trying to break away from the black mobility, which was in England at that time. In fact, King James was black himself. And the Catholic Church put out some serious dirt on him, saying that he was a homosexual, that he dribbled and the whole 9 yards. But he was a scholar, and he hired 15 scholars to take away the power and the punch from the Vulgate, which was the Vatican Bible. And he essentially did the Protestant so-called Bible that actually came from him studying old texts, not the ones that Eusebius of Caesarea put together to create Christianity as you see it today, or Constantine. These are all people who essentially ripped off some of the great scholars at that time and put into this Bible, or what I call the Holy Babel, because there's so many different types of things in there. You got to remember that the Bible was written in different ages. So if you look at the Bible and you read the Bible and the books, you'll see that God is represented as different forms of fire, air, water, or earth. So if you look at in the time of Moses, going into from the fire age into a earth age, you'll see that he was speaking as a burning bush, because at that time God was fire. That's how you saw it, because that was the main element that was speaking through all the other elements. There was a water age today as you're dealing with coming out of the Piscean age. The Piscean age essentially was water. And so everything was baptism and Jesus walking on water and the whole 9 yards. The next age became the air age, which is where we're going from now, transiting from there into what they call the age of Hapi, or the age of Aquarius. And so now that's an air age. Now that's the intellect. That's when spirituality starts seriously exploding. But there's a confusion, because you can get so lost up in spirituality that the down to earth is what's lost. So you have to be careful when you start dealing with Aquarian energies. Be mindful of that. The other thing is that a lot of people are not ready and prepared, and this is something that most people have to be very careful of. We're not prepared to deal with what it is that they know about what's to come, as far as the shift in consciousness. And that's what we teach at our university. The shift in consciousness. And most, all right, yes, very good. Excellent. You should go deeper into the British Museum and try to get down into the basement where they have a picture of Beethoven as a little black boy with curly hair. Go see that one. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sorry again.
No, go ahead. Because it was funny. I don't know who it might have been. Probably was you, but I remember that being spoke about in part 1 of Hidden Colors. I remember it like to this day.
Yeah. But you're saying that gold and silver and so forth. Yes. Gold, get silver. And again, remember that the first 13 colonies were ours. We were the ones that set up the de jure Constitution, because you have to remember as well that Franklin and Hamilton, Washington, and all the so-called founding, I call them the confounding fathers, all of them sat at the feet of the Six Nation Confederacy of the North. And the Six Nation Confederacy of the North, their logo was the pine tree, which you see as the Moors. That Six Nation Confederacy had something called the Great Law, or the Ordinazione. And these laws are what they saw and what they wanted to put down as the Declaration of Independence. There's not the Declaration of Independence. That's not us. A Declaration of Independence was us. Don't get fooled by that, because the white man, again, he's a trickster.
Can I ask you another question real quick?
Yeah.
Because everything you go is lead right into it. You're a historian. That's why we love you. We love you so much and appreciate your work. You're a historian. How old is America?
America? I mean, America?
I'm talking about when people say this weird thing of saying that we were in slavery for 500 years. How? I think that I think somebody like you are more qualified to break down the timetable, because you said this Khazarian is a trickster, and I think he's tricking us with the illusion of time.
Yeah, but
we break that by understanding how old is said America by when they were talking about the all these different things of 13 colonies, first president. How old is America by their standard? It doesn't make sense, because I think it's only 200 and some odd years old.
Yeah, but
So how were we in 500 years of slavery or 400 years of slavery?
I know. Yeah, and again, you got to deal with Amerique, okay, or Americua, land of the great winds. That's what it was called at one point. Amerique, yes, and you have to also take into consideration Pangea, because what we deal with we're dealing with a separation of the continents and a change in the paradigm structure. The reason why the continents separated was to change the tuning fork energy of consciousness. Because the sun and the moon spinning above us, the sun is an electrical, the moon is magnetic. And so we were in this gigantic cauldron, cyclotronic energy. They call it a cyclotron. The earth at that time, as Pangea, were locked, and the consciousness was locked. It needed to start again. Another phase going out of the 5th root race into the 6th root race, where we are. We're headed to the 7th root race, but this race has to die out because, as you tell you, that which does not kill you make you stronger. Well, this Khazarian was put into the game in order to make us stronger, because we had to recognize the disease not in him, but in ourselves. And so what happened, Pangea broke off and changed the harmonic energy within the atmosphere. You have to remember that everything is water. Water takes on different consistencies. The water that you see, that we look at and see fish and have a liquid consistency, that's another qualified form of water. The air you breathe is water.
Yeah.
You're just qualified to breathe this form of water. So we essentially are taking, through the 16,000 pounds per square inch, we are taking a filtered form of plasmic energy from the sun, and it's diversifying into different particulates that feed us through the breath. And as we are fed, we're given certain knowledge. And what had to happen was a great upheaval to change the consciousness paradigm. That's why you see the white man now is digging up 20, 30, 40, 50, 10, 20 miles down and finding all temples. That's the Stone Age.
Yeah.
Yes. You know what they were called? They were never called the Olmecs. They were never called Olmecs. That was actually, the name was given to them by the head steward of the Native American, I think it was called the Native American Museum. He called them the Olmec, which actually break down to called rubber people. But they weren't called that. They were called Tamo'ankan. The Tamo'ankan were the ones who they called the Olmecs, who actually had derivative ties to Africa, as we call it now, or Alkebulan. And the tribe was called the Z people. Now, out of Mexico, or Meshi, yes, our good brother, I forgot his name. I love the brother. He wrote a book, and he made it very clear that when Mansa Musa left Africa after he sent 200 ships before, they didn't come back. One ship came back. He said, "Where everybody at, man? Everybody partying over there." Okay, well, stock up. And he sent 300 more ships with him on it. Mansa Musa came under the derivative destruction of the language. Mansa Musa became Montezuma.
I hope not. Because Montezuma dropped the ball on us real bad.
Yeah, but you see, but you got to see this. That's what they're telling you. Again, you got to look into certain history. Montezuma, remember, King Meshi meant Meshi himself. Meshi was the king at that time. And Ko meant land. So Mexico was the land of Meshi, which
So
you
that's how.
see as Mexico today.
That make a lot of sense because if I'm not mistaken, the Great Pyramid that we know of in Mexico or South America, isn't that not called the Pyramid of the Moon, or the Mountains of the Moon? So
Yeah, well, yeah, I
Pyramid
went.
of the sun and the
Yeah,
pyramid of the moon and the
well,
temple of Quetzalcoatl.
yeah. You're talking about over there at where is that at?
can't think about
Chichen
it right
Itza. Chichen Itza. I went to Chichen Itza, and I went inside of the pyramid.
now.
It's funny because the pyramid itself has another pyramid inside. So when you went into the pyramid and you slid along it, you can't be claustrophobic. That's one thing, because it's like you're being buried the way they used to initiate back in Kemet. But anyway, when you went into there, you come out and you see there's another pyramid inside of the pyramid itself. That's before they stopped people going up on top, because we went over there and I could survey and see the entire land. And there were other pyramids like maybe miles away from that particular site.
Can I ask you a science question? And then I'm a whole, but I got to ask a couple questions that a couple people are asking.
I hope I
Uh,
can answer it.
yeah, I'm sure you can. Because like I said, we can do this all day. We're gonna have to do it again.
Oh,
Um, One was we were talking about the jab earlier, the shot, whatever they want to call it,
Yeah.
and you broke it all the way down. You ain't got to, you know what I'm saying? They rerun it back for it because you broke it down beautifully. But somebody asked, what could they do to reverse or take those whatever they call themselves, the things that they put in their body? What can they do to reverse it or pull it out of the body,
Well,
or reverse
there are two things
the
that
side?
I recommend. Yeah, two things that I recommend to my people: nicotine patch. Yeah, you take the nicotine patch, seven milligrams, and you put it on one each day. That helps put the spike protein into stasis. Because remember, they have these nanoparticles that are magnetic, and they react to 5G, and they assemble. And once they're assembled, they seem to have a programming that gives them the intelligence to migrate to certain areas where not only your lymphatic system is, but also where your mucous system is, and up around the heart. That's why a lot of young people who took it were dropping dead on the field, because the migration and the body defending itself against this creates a clog in the areas of the body that allow for the blood to flow. And the blood vessels are very thin and they only move in one direction. So if they're clogged, it blocks up, it grows at that point, cysts, calls into a cyst, and the person just keels over and dies for lack of oxygen to the brain. And you saw it happening over and over. Let me just tell you this: tens of millions have already been killed, and they're planning a second dose. The other one is nattokinase, Nattokinese. Nattokinase, you could do 200 FUs, and I didn't want to say it for business, or 8,000. 2,000, I mean, 2,000 or 8,000. Taking that, it's a derivative of the soybean. And what it does is it thins the blood so that if there are any clogs or any kinds of blood clots, it thins it out. Those are the two. There are others, but I don't know what they have of the materials. I don't know what drugs they're taking or what it is. We don't like to just give them
right.
Mickey researching, but the Juice Plus we found has been enormous help, as well as the materials that we deal with Unity. Anybody who is on Ozempic to lose weight, or another way of Ozempic is called Wegovy, Waygovy. They changed Ozempic, which works but has a side effect to your liver, kills it. And Wegovy, Waygovy, is the other, it's the sister to them losing weight. But if you want to lose it naturally, and if you want to do it while it's tasting good and on a regimen that does not have any deleterious effects on your kidneys and liver, you need to call my wife, because she's the one that boy, you have no idea how much knowledge she has. She's trying to keep me, she's trying to keep me, righteous, and I'm just saying no. I'm a spoiled kid.
We appreciate that from the winter solstice. What was that winter solstice? 2021.
Yeah.
She did a lecture then.
Yep.
How do you feel about magnets? Do you think magnets would do something about pulling things out of your body?
Yeah, but you have to wear them strategically, like Hank would tell you how to do that. You have to wear them strategically because they're parts of your body that's already magnetic. And you have to be able to understand the parts of like your heart, very high energy, magnetic energy. In fact, that's where your soul is really sitting. The soul spark is actually inside of the heart. It's at a place that's in the heart. I don't know if they changed the name up, but it's the sino-auricular node. Or the sino-auricular node. That's where the heart. That's where the soul sits. That's why in ancient Kemet, when they are giving you the last rites, or when you're dealing with the part where you're going for the judgment, they don't have your brain on the scale. They have your heart on the scale with a feather. And so the sino-auricular node is what they go after when they go after, clear, poof. That's what they're hitting the sino-auricular node, which is the valve. It's almost like a timekeeper.
Yeah, this is definitely legendary for sure. Doc, Atlantis and Lemuria. Yeah. How does that have any, like, how does that, like, what?
Yeah, I heard stories. Kemet hated Atlantis because Atlantis were rogue scientists. And they studied in the same high temples as the priests of ancient Kem. But they went ahead and they started doing what you see this Caucasian is doing, which is why he's so hyped up on being, I'm from Atlantis. I had a dream that I was an Atlantean. Yeah, bullshit. They pimp so much they really believe that's who they are, Yeah, that's what you call it, adaptive psychosis, they call it. But what you have essentially is after they went ahead and destroyed that area that you see that's called the Sahara right now, that was all part of what Atlantis looked like. But after that was destroyed, after they screwed themselves, there was a gigantic, like you see, one hell of a migration of people who survived trying to come into Kemet. And that was they really came with that kind of mentality, and that caused them to scatter in different areas and regions. A lot of the Atlanteans became the people that you see down in the Manamatapan Empire and down around that area. They migrated south because they couldn't go all the way east. Some were accepted, the ones who came their knowledge and they had the piety, but they had gone so far, like Trump and the rest of these people, they have that spirit. So Lemuria, I have not gotten too much into it. I went into Churchwood and I tried to get as much information from Churchwood, but he was, telling me the same thing about, about who the stone builders were, from the Stone Age. And I say that the people that we see that we call it Tartarians today, they're the ones who essentially scattered from Lemuria and from Atlantis and from ancient Kemet. Because you got to remember that ancient Kemet was invaded. And so what they did was they had to maintain the knowledge. And so they said, well, we'll have a few who had good memory to keep the knowledge. No, it didn't work. So what they did was they created these tablets that you see called the tablets of Jehudi. And these are the 22 what they call arcane that you see of what they call the tarot.
Is that the same as the Emerald Tablets, Doc?
Well, no, the emerald tablets were an offshoot. That came first, and then what happened was that's when they were dealing with lasers. If you look at the side of Kemet, you could see the flower of life, and they were dealing with lasers. They knew light as a weapon and as a beneficial tool. But when you're dealing with that, as far as coming together, see again, so much coming into my brain right now. I got to shut down my brain because I was just thinking about technology. Who was I?
We've been all over the place, but
Yeah,
we went into Atlantis and Lemuria, and then we
yeah, that's the place where I say Lemuria.
area a little bit.
Yeah, Lemuria, and there were other civilizations before that. They're coming up with the Tartarians, which of course they're coming up and saying that the Tartarians were white, and they love to talk that nonsense to everybody because you got to remember too when they talk about "Go West, young man," that guy who was talking that nonsense about John Wayne meeting up with Indians and shooting up Indians, nothing but Indians out there. These people found whole cities that were abandoned. These capitals where they put the people in. You think this white man built those Capitol buildings? He didn't have a damn thing to do with building any of those. He took them over. That white man could not build anything. In fact, all the churches, and you see these monasteries that they're talking about, they took all that the Moors went and built in England. In England, there were black kings in ancient England until it was taken over and turned to hell. And then the Europeans came in, the Neanderthals came in. I'll just call them Neanderthals. And they were throwing their feces out of windows. And if you walking under them umbrellas, they used to wear them umbrellas at night. Then the Queen Anne celebrated her 21st birthday by taking her first bath. Yeah, read the book. Read the book called Dirt. Read the book called Dirt. Dirt by McLaughlin.
Really?
Yeah, but you gotta know it. I mean, yeah. How about your boy Thomas Aquinas? You know about Thomas Aquinas? You ever heard of him? Yeah, Thomas Aquinas was a big deal in the church and back in the history of European England. And when he died, he never took a bath because you had to. All he did was kept putting different clothes over the ones that got ragged. When he died, in the book Dirt, they had to cut him out of his clothing. And when they cut him out of his clothing, the writer described what was inside as a bubbling cauldron of maggots and different kinds of animals. These are and you look at the movies and TV today, and you see them all clean and pristine, and the queen, and these people were filthy. They were absolutely freaking, they sleep with their cows. It wasn't until the Moors taught them how to, and this was the kings. The kings were sleeping with their cows and their goats until the Moors got them, standing straight up and not knuckle dragging across Europe.
Got me almost in tears out here tonight, Doc. Like, oh man, they going crazy in the comments too. Oh my God. I tell you what, how much more time we got? Because there's a ton of questions. Look, I'm gonna go as long as you last.
About 15 minutes.
Okay, look, I'm gonna go because some of them trying to turn up on me, talking about I ain't asking questions from the audience, but trust and believe, I do that every show. But this show is different because you can't interrupt greatness, man. He going in tonight. So, one of them is I think that ain't really relevant. But let me see this one. Dr. Valentine, you mentioned in one of your webinars a couple of years ago that they will try to destroy some countries in the Caribbean, and it's happening right now. What are your thoughts on that?
I spoke about that, and I spoke about many other things having to do. I'm glad that a lot of you young people, thank you so much, good brother or sister, for actually paying attention to that, and they're getting ready to do that. I also said that Trinidad, my family home, was sinking because the oceans were rising, and Trinidad is actually losing landmass as we speak. And so other places like up north, Greenland and these areas, they're losing landmass in different parts of the world simply because the earth has to change its resonance, and water changes the resonance, the earth changes the resonance, and consciousness is what predicates the changing of these resonances, human consciousness. So there is going to be they're going to go after the Caribbean because they're finding artifacts now down around the ocean floor of the Caribbean. That's like where they have the area that they call the Bermuda Triangle, and areas there in down around by Brazil and the outskirts of Brazil. In fact, there was a city on the eastern side of South America called Egypt that the Jesuits used to use. In fact, the Jesuits used to trade in products, and the black ships with crossbones was their ships. Before they outsourced that job to the pirates. And they used to take, the breadfruit and all these things. They used to enslave the people, and they built these places called I don't know, the redundants, or there was a place. This is where the projects came from. It was the Jesuits who created it, and they would house the people in these, I forget, it's reclusions, redundants. It's one of the names. It started with an R. And they would then have the people enslave them to grow food, to dig mines, and all the treasures. And their ships, the Jesuit ships, were all black sails. So you didn't mess with them. So they used to steal, and that's how they themselves. They would also seduce widows who took the money from the widows who the husband left the money to, and get the widows to sign it over to the church. Their money before she died. So the Catholic Church was beasthood. They don't worship Jesus Christ; they worship Lucifer, and you hear them in their prayers praise Lucifer. And who is Lucifer? Lucifer is nothing more than Venus. Venus is the one who is the morning star. It helps to bring the sun of God up. The sun of God is what crests over the horizon. But if you were to look up on a clear sky during the summertime, you will see a bright, bright star. That's Lucifer. In fact, the Vatican has more periscopes than any other country on planet Earth. Biggest one they have is nicknamed Lucifer.
Wow. Yeah.
What's the Vatican named after, OG? If you don't mind me asking real quick.
I don't know. I know it was Vaticanus. Vaticanus means hills. The Vaticanus is the word for city of many hills.
Because they say it came after some kind of a goddess named something like that. Yeah, Vatican.
About that recently too.
Probably so. But it when I studied it, it meant several hills, the city of 3 hills, something to that effect.
I got another one real quick, Doc, because I know we're running short on time. So Sean P77 said, if I remember correctly, I came across some info saying Black Rock has some type of connection to Antarctica. It may have been from Billy Carson's. There's a super secret pyramid there in Antarctica. Yeah, I just saw that.
There's one in Antarctica, but the one that Black Rock came from is that I said earlier to you. It's actually about the black stone, a gigantic black stone about the size of an island. And this black stone is magnetic, highly magnetic, and there's a cauldron around it and 4 rivers pouring out from there. It's getting ready to melt. The ships that are going to be sitting over there, and they've been hovering over it for a while to see what that's about. But Black Rock is named after, and it's Spanish. If you're Spanish, Black Rock, look for the oldest map of the Arctic, and you will see that sitting right there in the middle with 4 estuaries from it is the word in Spanish called Black Rock. And you see it as a gigantic rock sitting in the middle of the Arctic. That's the one where Black Rock took that name from.
Now, let me ask you this, Doc. Is there any correlation between that black rock and then that black rock that they use over there? And I can't think of the name of it, where they go and worship.
Oh, you're talking about the Kaaba.
Yes.
Yeah, the Kaaba, essentially, yes, that was part of it. But the Kaaba was actually a shrine to, what's his name? The starts with an S. What's the god? The Hindu god?
Shiva?
Shiva.
Shiva?
Yeah. When they first found it, before Muhammad come and took it over, it had all the artifacts of Shiva, just like the Taj Mahal was a temple to Shiva. It was not that was the romanticized bullshit about some guy made it for his wife. And no, that was a temple to Shiva. And they took all the stuff. You go in the back room, you'll see all of the gods stacked up there. And you saw pictures of the early Kaaba back in when it was first actually became part of the of Saudi Arabia. They showed you what was in there, and there were all these statues, gold and so forth, of Shiva. In fact, Shiva is Islam. If you look at Shiva, you look at the Abraham. You saw me do that maybe about 20 years ago. I call it the Abraham triad, three-headed dog. You had Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. That's the three-headed dog, because all of their fathers are Abraham. All of their fathers are Abraham. Now, where did Abraham come from? Well, Abraham is a twisted name for Brahma. If you were to take the word Abraham and you were to take the A from the front of Abraham and put it to the back, you'll see it's Brahma. Now, how do I know that? Well, I know that from looking at Brahma's wife. Brahma's wife was called Sarasvati. Sarasvati in Christianity is Sarah. We were ripped off, family. It's bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah, this is one for the books right here. This is one of them ones. Definitely one of them ones. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna run through them real quick. So, shout out to Yusef, brother Yusef Muhammad says, Baba Valentine, does this relate? This was way earlier, but he wanted to know: is there a correlation between the Mayan hieroglyphs as well as the Kemetic hieroglyphs?
Well, yeah, and every time you're looking at the Stone Age, you have to remember that everything happened across. It was consciousness diversifies. It may express itself in different ways. So, for instance, you think that China was for Chinese. The Chinese are a Johnny-come-lately offshoot of the Chang. And the people who were there and the people who you see that they call the Asian people. These Asian peoples and all of what you're looking at, these people, we're looking at twisted history. I call it twistery. The European creates these games for our minds to be played on. But the Mayan hieroglyphs and the so-called, and these are not hieroglyphs, they're actually called, there you go, they're actually called petroglyphs for the European, but they were the Medunetcha for us. Medunetcha. Medu meaning the word, and the Necher meaning God. That's where nature, the word nature comes from. So yes, the Mayan consciousness was supposed to be the first consciousness, because what you see in America is older than what is in Kemet. And most people don't see the step pyramids. In fact, I read somewhere in all the books I've read that Herodotus visited this part of the world and spoke of pyramids that had temples upon them. There's no other place in Kemet that you see temples on top of pyramids except here in the Americas. So Herodotus himself visited the Americas, what we call the Americas at that time, but Tameri and Ta-Nehisi. You got to remember too, there was a queen up in the place where they call Chicago that was at war with Kemet, and we had queens that were in the coast. I mean, this European, yes, this European can't find himself. You remember I did when I did the lecture with Hidden Colors. I said the deeper the white man digs for evidence of his existence, the blacker the planet gets.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And he does not know what to do with himself. He has to keep legitimizing his existence by keeping and digging. The more he digs, the
Writing
more,
books.
yeah, yeah. The more he digs, the less relevant he becomes. And that's scary for him.
Oh yeah. Well.
OG, he said it earlier, and let it ride because he was just going. But he said it earlier that you could prove the connection between the Olmec civilizations and West Africa, right? And everybody be trying to divide, and they really be hating it. But it's on their kufi. Remember when we said El Rey?
Yeah.
Even if they weren't the same people, I'm not even saying they're the same people, but they were directly doing business with Africans.
But they were
And we forget
cocaine. And the pharaohs were snorting cocaine.
that part, and we act like the bloodlines don't mix, but we forget the oldest, outside of medicine,
yeah,
because we were medicine men, cocaine,
right.
Outside of medicine and jewelry, because they all like Shiva came down with gems on, all of them had jewelry.
Right.
Women was a currency back then, so we don't take into consideration how many women were traded back and forth.
We don't.
We wanted to delete a lot of stuff out of reality, but how that means if the women were brought from over here and brought over here, then you have both DNAs in you. You have all these DNA strands. You see what I'm saying? That's the connection. But
listen, before you cut, I don't want to cut your wisdom.
Go ahead.
Be very careful when you call it jewelry, because Jew and El is Saturn. The Jew, El, he worships himself. Every time you call something that's precious from the earth jewelry, you are giving him props. That's ornamentation. It is ornamentation for the body to enhance the energy dynamics from within.
Oh
so we have ornaments. We don't deal with jewelry.
look, most definitely.
Give me the cut your wisdom.
Listen, I know we're running short on time, but I got two from the tribe, and if I can get one more in myself, because this is epic. This epic right here. So this one right here I held for a while too. Fair use TV one wanted to know about charcoal pills.
Limited use. If you have like certain irritable bowel syndrome, and if you're dealing with the inability to digest, say, milk and so forth, the charcoal does good, but the best use is to get baking soda. Baking soda is the one that will turn everything out. In fact, baking soda does everything. It does it inside and out. Baking soda will do what the charcoal does, but the charcoal itself becomes saturated. And after it's saturated, it doesn't have any real use. But the baking soda, the body takes the baking soda and converts it directly to alkaline. And then that works to help you. It helps the kidneys, and it also helps to enhance the charge that you need, which is the hang for a minute. Nitric oxide. So it helps the nitric oxide. To enhance nitric oxide, that's what you need to keep the standing rod up, and what you need to keep your kidney flush well.
Okay. Shout out to Sandra Edwards 4278 wants to know, this is heavy. How about Orion spelled in series?
Yeah. Our people were connected, especially the Dogon. They were connected to a certain part of the revolving dome. And they found that as the dome revolved, that when certain star systems were placed that are fixed, and there's some that move. Okay, the pole star never moves. You can look up at the polar. That's what they call it. The poles, the two poles. There's no two poles, only one pole. There's no South Pole. South Pole is nothing more than a gigantic ring of ice that's holding the oceans in. You can go anywhere in the South from any part of the Earth mass that we have, and you'll end up with an ice wall. Okay, so if we're talking about Orion, our ancestors dealt with what is known as Theo, Theo, how to say it? It's. Let me see what I'm dealing with this. Astrotheology. Let's call it.
Mm.
Astrotheology is God speaks to us from the original hieroglyphics of the sky. And the original hieroglyphics are what we call what? The original hieroglyphics are what we call the
Zodiac.
Right. The zodiac was essentially a zoo because most of these star configurations took on different animal shapes and affected certain ways that the electrical signature of consciousness would travel from one synapse to the other. At that time, they knew that when certain star configurations were in the sky, certain things happened to people because those who were in tune with nature would then align with what was the narrative that was being broadcast to us to light figures. Light signatures, which you heard me talk about maybe 30, 40 years ago, called light code lockdown. Light code signatures come from the sun and are diversified through as plasma that we breathe in and we use on our skin to make sure that our copper is working properly. But at night, that's when your pineal is active. It's not active during the day under the sun. It's active under the magnetic moon. And that during that time, when you see the stars, not like today, because everything is lit up, and when it's lit up, you can't see the sky. When you see the sky and you see all the different configurations, that's when the priests would go out to meditate. That's when they did over here, the so-called autochthonous people, they would go on their ghost walks. They would go on these walks where young people would go out, they would sit under the night sky, and depending on when they were born, they would then go there and feed from that particular sun sky, or that night sky, and that particular zoology or zodiac, and it would feed them and give them information as they meditated out under the sky, under their own star that they were born. So everything you see from what they call, the zodiac and astrology and so forth, astrology, numerology, all of these were ologies or studies of the sky, studies of nature. Nature is a mathematician. As she creates or as she follows the orders of the intention of the master, which is the father figure, the father feeds her, she becomes, and we now study her. That's why you see her in the tarot. She's sitting there with a mask over her face. Her hand is on a book, and she's pointing up, and she's saying, "None may lift my veil until they are ready." And that book has all the knowledge. And when you lift her veil, that's when you get all the secrets. Lifting a veil is what you see as the illusion, but behind the illusion, there is a working dynamic, a working mechanics that we can study. Today, the white man has taken and turned her into a whore. So nature is no longer the beneficent mother. She's become the whore of Babylon.
Mm.
She has now she's been turned out by these sick bastards who want to turn her the atomic part. They want to turn all the parts of her and make her weaponize everything they do that man has discovered. We could have been driving on water. We could have been flying on magnetic energies by just resisting the earth. We could do everything, but this devil, this white man knows that once we advance, he dies out. So he has to keep pipping us.
Mm. Yeah, excuse me, the comments are going crazy. I know I asked for two, so I don't want to go.
We winding down now.
Yeah. So I ain't gonna keep going, but I'll share this one.
Wait a minute, is that a picture of Uncle Hank?
No, that's him. He meditates.
That's scary. Oh my God!
He meditating on the call.
I'm just meditating.
He said, "Send a picture." I'm like, that's why I'm about to say we gotta do a part 2, man. We gotta
Bruh.
get to part 2 because Uncle Hank, we gotta watch them interact. Like
Bruh, listen,
we didn't even get into too much. I wanted to ask you about Imhotep because the way you went about Acting Henderson, we didn't really need to talk about Imhotep, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
something that Uncle
I
Hank would go crazy on.
Well, I
bruh,
tell you, Imhotep actually got everything from his mother.
we got to do this
His
again.
mother was a master herbalist, and his father essentially was a master scientist. So, but his mother is the one who taught him the healing arts,
Yeah,
and of course, he became Asclepius to the Greeks, the man
Yeah.
god.
yeah, this was powerful. So Truth Within said, can we ask Dr. Valentine, is he going to publish another book?
Yeah, I'm working on another book called Cosmic Codex. Actually, that's the first book that I was writing until our sisters began to become very ill. That's another thing. If you want to know about my work, you can look up, go to Lulu, LULU.com, LULU.com, and that puts you into Lulu, which is my publisher. If you wish to purchase my book, The Wounded Womb, which everybody now has taken from it, including the narrative of such great speakers like what's his name, the one who just passed away,
Kevin Samuels.
Kevin Samuels. All of that information I put out 25, 30 years ago. And if you really want to get into that, go to lulu.com and in the search, just put, Philip Valentine, Wounded Womb, and that'll put you right into the purchase page. Really would want to get our sisters to read that book because it's a manual to show you how you left the throne of your majestic self. You left the throne of your majestic self, and it's not a browbeating book. And yeah, Cosmic Codex is in the works. It's going to be over 1,000 pages, but it's not ready yet. That was the first book I put to the side. It's still in the works, but I finished Wounded Womb, which is book number 4. It's 4 of 7, actually, that I'm working on.
I say. Nah, this was legendary, Doc. It really was. I got one last. This is my last question. I got this. I can't even remember where I got it from, but I saw it. It spoke to me, and the brother was wearing some really dope ornaments. So I'm not even sure exactly who it is, what it represents, but it spoke to me, and so I had to grab it. And so I got this piece right here. And I was just curious because look, I it just spoke to me spiritually. So I'm like, I gotta grab this, and it's been in my around my shrine now. But does this have any... Okay, who is this?
That,
or what would it represent?
It looks like he is representing. He could be a offshoot of Elegba. Uh-oh. What are we looking at now? Oh, yeah.
No. See, that's the thing. That's the thing. When we do our history right,
Yes.
Bill claims that to be Shango Macho.
Yeah.
But look up Chief Saturera. We were just in Jacksonville when we were in Jacksonville with our Professor Paul, right? Chief Saturera.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the comments. Chief Saturera. When you look up the chief so when you look at the gemstones, that's our culture.
Yeah.
Now that all those different people were bringing gemstones and all these different things to Florida. We already know how we can track stones. Now, Chief Saturera is a real person. Now they take that image and take it to Cuba and everywhere else. They don't never want to give the black man over here in America any credit, so they take it over there and say it's Shango Macho, which caused a big confusion. That caused a big confusion in the diaspora because they were like, "Oh no, that's not Chief Saturera, that's Shango," because the Cubans call him Shango because that's the energy he had. Now, mind you, if that was Shango from Africa, like they were trying to deem it, saying it was Shango from Africa, why don't you have a Shango? I mean, you don't have no Shango. All the statues in Africa you got. Have you ever seen a Shango Macho statue in Africa?
No.
That's it. Like you just said. That's a kind of like a knockoff of Chief Saturera. These statues were in the Green Vault when the Green Vault got robbed. That's another conversation we can have. All these French museums are getting robbed.
Yeah.
But the Green Vault, when it got robbed, it was robbed of this statue, and the statue the king had, he had like 30 some odd kids. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how great you, but the statue was it gave you fertility, it gave you all sorts of different things. But the statue was made to represent the American Indians. You know what I'm saying? The indigenous people. Look up Chief Century Raw or Cigar Chief Indians. That right there is just their version of it, and it got mixed up real bad because people are gonna be like, "That's Shango." But please, especially on the Reacher Network and everything, the Asher Network, look up Chief Santeria. When you see us with the gemstones, that's not everybody else's culture. That's our culture. We've been rocking the gemstones forever and a day. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
so my bad. Go ahead. My bad.
All I know is it spoke to my soul, so I had to grab
that's
it,
the
man.
Florida Chief.
Well,
That's the Florida Chief.
Yeah.
Hey.
From all the way to West Florida, New Orleans. When you're doing the time set, he was running everything. He ran the section, but he was also a youngster. Like Chief Santeria was young as hell. But when you look it up, it's like he was running his section. His father was chief. Now the Moors came over here and start intermingling with the tribes and broke it down from the inside out. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't the white man that broke them down. The white man, what he did was, or the Portuguese, we're really Portuguese and people like that. They came down, and what they did was they played both sides.
Double agents.
The Timucua chief was already beefing with other chiefs. Now, Timucua isn't one tribe; it's really enemy. They're river clans, they're river tribes. You know what I'm saying? But it's a bunch of them. But he was born in Turkey Scratch, but he was living in Jacksonville. They would never name it, call him Jacksonville. That's why I kept on talking about the Jacksonville River and everything else. So that's history. That ain't no a story that was told or passed down. No, that's our history.
Yeah,
that's something you can look up right now. When you talk about the dragons and everything else, that's Florida. That's Florida history. Like he said, American means the land of the plumed serpent.
Listen.
So all that like all this belongs to us. You know what I'm saying? Not just Africa, not just Asia.
Yeah, the globe.
All this belongs to us. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, wonderful.
Chief Santeria, man. Chief Santeria.
Hey, Uncle Hank, do you want to close us out because Doc ready to go, and I don't want to hold him past his time because I want to get him back.
Yeah, let's wrap it up because it's time for go into the deep meditation zone. Thank you, Baba Phil. Thank you, Aoife Stone. Thank you, Arisha Stone, and thank the audience. Blessings until part 2.
Part 2. Please. 800-847-1291, 800-847-1291 if you want to deal with our services. Again, please call my wife. Well, not call her, text her or her daughter. And I would say if you are looking for any of the services, please call. We will get back to you. And please make sure as you're leaving a message, don't leave a message while you're outside. There's a whole lot of noise and everything feeding in. Make sure that you say the number 2 or 3 times, because a lot of times if we don't get your number and you break off, then we can't call you back. Okay?
I say. Nah, Doc, listen, I knew it was going to be legendary epic, so I definitely give gratitude and thanks, and I appreciate you, and I give gratitude and thanks to the Queen for allowing you to spend this much time with us tonight, and I'll definitely be in touch. I look forward to doing it again as soon as possible, as soon as our schedules will, allow. So, man, I can't thank you enough. This was powerful, so I appreciate you, Doc.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and everyone out there, thank you for hanging in there with us. Much love and light to you.
I say. Yes, sir. All right, family. I appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all on the next episode. This has been another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I'm your host, Arisha Bamey. Shout out to Dr. Baba Phil Valentine, as well as Uncle Hank and none other than Arisha Stone up in this thing, man. I appreciate you all, family. I'll see y'all on the next one. We out, family. Peace. Odabu.
Ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé ṣàpò ìyàgbọ́ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo ṣe ní gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́ forsake not your ancestors and praise your